Hi, welcome to our project on the history of Rome. In this video, my classmates and I are going to start at the founding of Rome and end at the fall of the Eastern Roman Empire. We are going to discuss the military, innovations, geography, and Pax Romana. Let's get into it.
Roman origins. As legend has it, Rome was founded in 753 BC by Romulus and Remus. They were twins and sons of Mars, the god of war. They were left to drown in a basket on the Tiber by a king of nearby Alba Longa, but they were rescued by a she-wolf, and the twins lived to defeat that king. The brothers founded their own city on the river's banks in 753 BC. After killing his brother, Romulus became the first king of Rome. Beginning in the 8th century BC, ancient Rome had grown from a small town on central Italy's Tiber River into an empire that at its peak had conquered most of continental Europe, much of Western Asia, Northern Africa, and the Mediterranean islands.
Roman geography. Rome was situated in what is known as the Mediterranean Sea complex, aptly named as the Mediterranean Sea gave them access to 3 different continents. They could trade with other countries or take over other countries. In any case, the Mediterranean Sea was vital for Roman development. The Romans built their empire on a flat plain, which meant that unifying groups of people to expand their land was easy. The problem the ancient Greeks faced was that they couldn't do exactly this, and there ended up being warring city-states. Easy communication was just as vital for Roman development.
The early republic. Politics in the early Roman Republic was marked by the long struggle between patricians and plebeians. The power of the monarch was passed to 2 annual elected magistrates called consuls. They also served as commanders-in-chief of the Roman army. The magistrates were elected by the people but were drawn largely from the Senate, which mostly consisted of patricians. In 450 BC, the first Roman law code was inscribed on the 12 bronze tablets, known as the 12 Table, and was publicly displayed in the Roman Forum. These laws included issues of legal procedure, civil rights, property rights, and provided the basis for all future Roman civil law. During the early Republic, the Roman state grew exponentially in both size and power. Though the Gauls destroyed and burned Rome in 390 BC, the Romans grew under leadership of military hero Camillus. They eventually gained control of the entire Italian peninsula by 264 BC. Rome then fought a series of wars known as the Punic Wars against Carthage, a powerful city-state in northern Africa.
The Punic Wars. The Punic Wars were some of the most recognizable and influential wars in Roman history. They were the beginning of Roman expansion beyond the Italian peninsula. Rome's enemy during the Punic Wars was the massive power of Carthage. Carthage was a city called Carthage, named by the Phoenician founders. This trading colony held land in southern Iberia and owned most of the North African coast. They were a trading and naval empire that used the Mediterranean Sea complex to achieve wealth and prosperity. At the onset of the First Punic War at 264 BC, Carthage completely dominated the western Mediterranean. Rome had a disastrous navy of less than 30 ships. They did, however, have a disciplined and organized military. Carthage's army was made up mostly of mercenaries, with only a minority composed of actual Carthaginians. They were completely outmatched by the Roman war machine. Since Carthage was a trading empire, they had a navy of over 300 ships and had complete naval supremacy. On the land, the 2 powers clashed over Sicily, but Rome came out victorious. They overcame the Carthaginian armies and rebuilt their navy to best the Carthaginians in battle. Rome had defeated Carthage, annexed Sicily, but left Carthage's holdings in North Africa and Spain alone. During the Second Punic War, Rome took control of Corsica and Sardinia, but Carthage had increased its influence in Spain. Hamilcar Barca was one of the most influential generals and statesmen at the end of the First Punic War and he led Carthage to many victories in Spain after the war ended. Before his death in 221 BC, he made his youngest son, Hannibal, swear a blood oath to fight Rome. The Punic Wars started when Hannibal marched his forces into the Iberian city of Saguntum, which was under Roman protection. During the war, Hannibal did the unexpected. He marched his army of over 100,000 men and 40 war elephants through the Alps and into Italy. He fought his way into Italy and destroyed the Romans at the Battle of Cannae. There, he defeated a Roman army twice as large as his own using superior tactics and a cavalry advantage. Unfortunately, Rome bounced back and pushed the Carthaginians out of Italy under the leadership of Scipio Africanus. Carthage sustained heavy losses and lost all of their holdings in Spain. By the time of the Third Punic War in 149 BC, Carthage was weakened. Rome had attacked Carthage on a technicality and didn't leave them a chance, since they still viewed them as a threat. The city was sieged for 3 years, and by the end, Rome had devastated the city of Carthage. They attacked from the harbor and went home to home, destroying the great city for 7 days straight. After a week of slaughter, the great Carthaginian Empire was no more. Only rubble and ruins remained. This was the end for Carthage, but just the beginning for the Roman Empire. Rome invades Greece. During the Punic Wars, Rome was fighting on a second front against the Macedonians. This was one of many military campaigns into Greece where the Romans steamrolled them due to their flexible formations. After the Fourth Macedonian War, Roman Praetor Quintus Caecilius Metellus crushed the Greeks, and in 146 BC, Macedonia was made into a Roman province. After these wars, Gaius Marius was elected consul and completely restructured the military by passing the Marian reforms in 107 BC. These reforms allowed non-landowners to join the military and to fill the army with professional soldiers that would get money, spoils of war, and/or land in exchange for their service. This strengthened the army, but made the legionaries more loyal to their general than the Republic. Caesar and Gaul. When Julius Caesar was elected consul in 59 BC, Rome had already controlled Italy, Spain, Asia Minor, Greece, Egypt, and even Crimea. Now Gaius Julius Caesar embarked on a long journey to conquer the Gallic barbarians in modern-day France. He paid them off to betray each other, and he picked them off while they were weak. The Gauls used guerrilla tactics to harass and ambush the Romans, using the forests to escape. In 54 BC, Julius Caesar invaded Britain, and the Romans created many cities and forts on the island. The capital of Britannia was Londinium, which is now known as London. In 44 BC, Caesar marched his army into Rome, which was illegal by the way, and demanded the Senate to make him dictator for life. They agreed, but later murdered him in the Senate building during the Ides of March. This marked the end of the Republic.
Pax Romana. Right after Julius Caesar's death, there was a period of civil unrest where the people of Rome were at war with one another. A decade of infighting and indecisiveness ended when Augustus, Julius Caesar's nephew, then defeated his enemies competing for power and took over Rome. Pax Romana, or Roman peace, marks an important threshold in Roman civilization. This was effectively the golden age of Roman history. During this time, the empire consolidated its power and created a stable environment in which trade and communication flourished. Augustus secured Roman borders and built up the military. Romans made great advancements in architecture, engineering, and the arts. Augustus himself even funded a lot of the art, literary, and medical projects at the time, encouraging less warfare and more peace, unlike his predecessor.
Roman innovations. Known as one of the greatest pre-modern empires in the world, the Romans have created and improved upon many different innovations and inventions that we now use today. Many of these innovations were inspired by the Greeks, who are famous for having some of the greatest philosophers and experts. One of the most notable Roman inventions are the Roman aqueducts. This engineering marvel used the power of gravity to carry water from the mountains to the Roman cities. Roman citizens had access to clean water and even had public toilets. The sewage systems in Roman cities were spectacular and helped promote sanitation and cleanliness. While the idea of the aqueduct came much earlier in Egypt and Assyria using irrigation canals, the Romans expanded on the idea and stretched some of these aqueducts to 60 or more miles, just with gravity alone. Another impressive invention that the Romans created was the newspaper. Ancient Roman newspapers were written on metal or stone and placed in concentrated areas of the cities. These newspapers would showcase daily acts like the latest Roman military victories and gladiator bouts. It helped keep the public informed in everyday life, something we still use today. Another crucial innovation that affects the way we live today is the Julian calendar. This calendar has 365 days in a year with one leap year of 366 days, similar to what we have today. This calendar worked but eventually didn't remain aligned to the seasons. The scientists who invented the calendar miscalculated the length of the solar year by about 11 minutes. Although it doesn't affect much after a year, over time the calendar becomes inaccurate. The calendar has since been replaced by the Gregorian calendar, which is still in use today, but it was a rough template in calculating the calendar we use now. There are also a couple other inventions worth stating, like concrete, Roman arches, and Roman numerals. Overall, the Romans have made great contributions to the world of invention and innovation. The fall of Rome. Like all other empires in history, Rome rose and fell. Many factors contributed to the downfall of Rome. One of the main reasons was the stagnation of trade in the Mediterranean region. Due to the increase in piracy on the seas and the danger of thieves on the road, many merchants were not as nearly as inclined to trade overseas. The decline of trade brought about a lower standard of living. In addition, purchasing power, which is the ability to buy things, was largely confined to the upper class. Rome suffered from the constant change in leadership in the Roman government. Most Roman emperors were killed within 3 to 4 years, and many were killed in the same year they took power. The main cause of these deaths were assassinations. The constant change in power led to a dysfunctional government. The Romans had many enemies that also played a role in their downfall. Many barbarian tribes attacked Rome, such as the Huns, Visigoths, Franks, Ostrogoths, and Vandals. The Franks, a Germanic tribe located east of present-day Paris, attacked Rome from the north. The Vandals, located in present-day southern Romania, attacked Spain and northern Africa, capturing the crucial city of Carthage. The Huns also attacked in western Rome a couple times. Eastern Rome was also attacked by other barbarian tribes. One of the final reasons that led to the downfall of Rome was the corruption and greed of many of the leaders. Rome was a vast empire, and vast empires are tough to govern. The constant change in leadership also played a role in this. Rome didn't have trustworthy, reliable leaders. Other factors like military issues, the impact of Christianity, and over-reliance of slave labor also led to the downfall of Rome.
Byzantine Rome. It is widely known that the Roman Empire fell in 476 AD when the Senate sent the imperial regalia to the Eastern Roman Empire under the instructions of the barbarian king Odoacer. This was the message that Rome didn't need the regalia because there was no more. Or was it? Did the Roman Empire really end in 476? While the West fell into the Dark Ages, the East stood strong. Life continued as normal, where the Romans in the East just believed that was a momentary setback because Rome had been sacked numerous times in the past. This empire is now referred to as the Byzantine Empire. But where did that name really come from? The name Byzantine comes from the city of Byzantium, where the capital Constantinople was built. The people we call the Byzantines had never used this name because they referred to themselves as Romans. They didn't know that the West would stay down. Under the Emperor Justinian, they reconquered North Africa, Italy, and some of Spain in the Gothic War that started in 535 and ended in 554 AD. Since they were Romans conquering Roman lands, they actually were viewed as liberators by the native Roman populations. I know, a lot of Roman. They were successful until the Justinian plague swept the empire. You probably know it as the Black Death. The empire lost territory after hundreds of years to the Sassanids, Arabs, and Turks to the east. At the same time, they were battling with the Slavs and Bulgars to the north. By the time of the First Crusade in 1095 AD, the Romans had lost Egypt and most of Anatolia, which is now modern-day Turkey. They were on the back foot and defeat was imminent, until Emperor Alexios spoke to the Pope about Christians suffering in the east. The Pope launched the First Crusade to unify the Church and take back quote-unquote Holy Lands. The Romans made a deal with the unruly Crusaders that they had to restore the lands to the Romans, in exchange for monetary support for the Crusades. This crusade was actually very beneficial to the Byzantines, because they saved them from inevitable defeat. The next two crusades, however, showed animosity towards the Byzantines, but they weren't attacked on the same scale as the Fourth and last crusade. The Fourth Crusade was very unusual because it was the only crusade against other Christians. The Kingdom of Venice sent the Crusaders to Constantinople due to wanting money for the failed past two crusades. For the next 2 centuries, the borders were whittled away by the Ottoman Turks until in 1449 the last Roman emperor was crowned. Emperor Constantine XI reigned for a short 4 years until his death in 1453 AD. For the last 2 years of the empire, the city of Constantinople was all that remained of the mighty Romans. The Byzantines turned to Western Europe for support, but only Venice came to their aid. The city was defended by, at most, 8,000 men, while the Ottomans fielded an army 10 times as big. The fighting lasted for 2 months. There was no hope of survival. On May 29, 1453, the Greeks and Latins put aside their differences and came together as Christians in the Hagia Sophia Church, where the emperor rallied his people. By now, the Ottomans had breached the walls and began the assault. Constantine XI famously tore off his royal garments to look like an ordinary soldier and charged into battle. He died with the city and marked the end of the Roman Empire on May 29, 1453 AD. The Roman Empire had fallen more than 2,000 years after the founding of Rome. At their peak, the Romans dominated the Mediterranean and so much more for countless centuries. It was the eternal empire destined to rule the world. But sadly, all good things will come to an end eventually, and so did the Roman Empire. 2 years after Christopher Columbus was born, one massive chapter in history ended, and a new one had just begun.
Erastus necessitas.
On behalf of my group, I would like to thank you for taking the time to listen to our project on the history of Rome. Please have a wonderful day, and goodbye.